I'm making spring green spaghetti carbonara. I've cooked spaghetti for about 8 minutes, which is less than al dente, and I'm going to show you why. So first I'm going to take a little bit of pasta water out, save it for later, the thing I always forget. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the spring green vegetables, julienne snow peas, and sliced asparagus, and I'm just going to finish cooking the pasta and the vegetables together. How clever was that? So I cooked pancetta just until it's nice and brown and crispy. So I'm going to just take it out and let it drain on a paper towel. I'm going to add it later so it's really crispy. So that's the pancetta. Okay, now I'm going to make the sauce. I'm doing something really unusual, but it really works. I'm going to take a big bowl and fill it with the hottest tap water. And that's going to warm the bowl. So when the raw eggs and cream go into this bowl, it's going to cook it a little bit. So just fill it up, empty it, and then immediately I'm going to put in 2 eggs and 2 egg yolks, half a cup of cream, and the hot pasta water that I just reserved. I'm just going to whisk them together. So this gets the eggs sort of starting to cook for the carbonara. Okay, so that's the mix. Now I'm going to take the peas, I'm just going to put them in for a second just to heat them up. Give it a stir. Just love the way it looks. Time to drain it. I'm just going to drain the whole thing together. Okay, now this really hot pasta and vegetables goes right into the sauce, and it finishes the cooking. I'm going to give it a big stir. Just you want all that cream and the cooking liquid to just get absorbed into the pasta. Okay, now I'm going to add lots more flavor. So first I've got scallions that have been julienned, about 1/4 cup of chopped chives, lots of Parmesan cheese, and lemon. I like that edge of lemon in this. Okay, that's the zest. And now a squeeze of lemon juice. Now lots of salt and pepper. And pepper. And now the pancetta, the final flavor in this. So the crispy pancetta right on top. The pasta's going to heat the whole thing up. This is so good. Look how much fresher it is. This is light with all of the flavors of carbonara. I'll show you how I serve it. Just pour it right in. You can see all the vegetables and the pancetta. And it stays really hot. And it's still going to keep absorbing the sauce. A little garnish, I think. A little more fresh chive. And next, Parmesan cheese. And maybe a little squeeze of lemon right at the end. When you need something really comforting, you don't want something too rich, I would say spring green spaghetti carbonara is just the thing. Shells with broccoli, rabe, and pancetta is one of those pasta dishes with big flavor. And the first one is the broccoli rabe. What I did was I chopped it up in big pieces and blanched it for 2 minutes. You don't want to overcook it, otherwise it's going to get too soggy and it turns brown. This is a really classic Italian vegetable. And strangely, isn't even related to broccoli. But it's got great flavor, a little more bitter. And here's the trick in this dish. I'm going to save the water. And I'm going to cook the pasta in exactly the same water. So I've got 1 pound of large shells. I'm just going to pour them in. Boiling salted water. And cook those according to the directions on the package, probably around 8 to 10 minutes. Turn up the heat. Make sure they're boiling. Just give it a stir. I'm using shells for this dish because I love that the pancetta and the broccoli rabe get caught in that little opening in the shells. It's a great pasta for this. Okay, so while the pasta cooks, I'm going to cook the pancetta. And the key to this is I don't actually ask the butcher to slice it because they always slice it too thin. And I want a 1/4 inch dice, which means it has to be a 1/4 inch thick. So I just do it myself. So just do a nice dice. I'm going to cook the pancetta in a saute pan. Then when the pasta and the broccoli rabe are all cooked, they're going to all cook together in the saute pan. Pancetta is really Italian bacon, but it's a little smokier. Just think it has more flavor. Just delicious. Okay, I'm going to put this in. So that's a 1/2 pound of pancetta. Just going to cook that until the fat is rendered and starts to brown. It's going to take about 8 minutes to brown. Look how gorgeous this pancetta is. It's perfectly cooked, nice and crispy. Okay, I'm going to add 2 cloves of minced garlic. I'm just going to put it right in with the pancetta, just for a minute, just until you can smell it. You don't want it to burn. And some hot red pepper flakes. Give it a little heat. Remember, I said this isn't boring. Just give that a stir, just until you can smell the garlic. That's when you know it's done. Next is the broccoli rabe. I'm just going to add it into this pan. Add that in. And now the shells should be done. So let me just test one, make sure it's done. Perfect. You want them really al dente. And instead of draining it, I'm going to pick them up with a spider or a strainer, whatever you have, and put them right in here. And you want some of the water to come with it. The starch in the pasta water really helps thicken the sauce. So I'm just going to cook this all together. How pretty is this? And then when I serve it, I'm going to serve it with ricotta in the middle. It makes it creamy and lots of Parmesan cheese. So if it's dry, I'll add a little more pasta water. But you can see there's still a little water in the bottom of the pan, so it's fine. And you know, the pasta is going to absorb that liquid, and it's got all the flavor of the pancetta and the broccoli rabe in it. Okay, a little salt and pepper. A little pepper. Seasoning is so important. You can have the most delicious pasta dish, but if it doesn't have enough seasoning, it's really boring. Makes all the difference in the world. Okay, just until this all kind of melts together, just a minute, and it's all heated through. How gorgeous does this look? Okay, I'm gonna show you how I serve it up. So big bowl. This is one big serving of pasta. It's one thing, and it's got everything you need for dinner in it. Vegetables, pasta, pancetta. And then what I like to do is take like a scoop of ricotta, just fresh ricotta, and just put it right on top. And then as you eat it, you can just blend it all together. Kind of that hot and cold thing, creamy, and you have to have Parmesan cheese, lots of Parmesan, right around. And that is what I would call a weeknight dinner. It's really satisfying, it's really comforting. Bad day at the office, this will solve all your problems. It's so good, it's got so much flavor. So I'm gonna make capellini with tomatoes and basil. It's very good and it's so fast. So the first thing I'm gonna start with is olive oil. I'm gonna use a lot of olive oil, but it's actually gonna end up being tossed with the pasta, about a half a cup. I used to make this recipe by marinating the tomatoes for about 6 hours. And then one day I thought, I think I can just saute them. It'll take 3 minutes. And you know what? It worked. So I'm just gonna let that heat up. Gotta have lots of garlic, 2 tablespoons of garlic. It's about 6 cloves. Just give them a big rough chop. You won't believe how fast this recipe is. I'm using capellini because it takes literally 2 minutes to cook in a pot of boiling water. It takes more time to boil the water than it does to make the whole dish. I came up with this recipe because I have so many cherry tomatoes in the garden. And this is a good one. It uses 4 pints of cherry tomatoes. Okay, that's a lot of garlic. That's at least 2 tablespoons, if not more, right into the oil. Just cook it for about 30 seconds. Now I need lots of fresh thyme. I need about 2 teaspoons. I'm just gonna take it right off the stems, right into the pot while the garlic cooks. I do whole borders of thyme, so I always have fresh thyme, one of my favorites. Garlic smells great. Okay, 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme leaves, 2 teaspoons of salt, one teaspoon of pepper. I want this really well seasoned. Give it a shake. Some red pepper flakes, just a big pinch. Give it a little heat. And 4 pints of cherry tomatoes. And these are just gonna cook together for about 5 to 7 minutes while I cook the pasta. Okay, next, lots of fresh herbs. So I'm going to use maybe, oh, I don't know, a big bunch of basil. Got 18 leaves, I'm going to julienne them. Tomatoes, basil, always go together. They don't have to be perfectly julienne. That's the thing about this pasta. It's a really simple dish, but each ingredient is just wonderful, and they all go together. Big rough chop of parsley, just a couple of tablespoons. Give it a nice fresh herb flavor. And the tomatoes look like they're perfectly cooked. Just off the heat, I'm going to turn it off so that the herbs stay really bright green. Just going to toss them on. Just give them a little stir so the heat just wilts them, but it doesn't change the flavor. And this Parmesan's going to have a nice salty taste. This is really fast Parmesan cheese. Right into the food processor. Lid on. Perfect. Okay, I think the pasta should be done. Just drain the pasta. Ooh. I'm just going to put it right back in with the tomato so it really absorbs all that wonderful oil and flavors and seasoning and right back in. Now, is that one of the fastest dishes you've ever seen? Just give it a big toss. You want to not crush the tomatoes. It needs one more thing to make it perfect, Parmesan cheese. 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese. So what I have in this pot is I've sauteed some onions and garlic and then broken up some sausage that I got at the store. This is turkey sausage. You can get hot, you can get sweet, but I actually like to combine the two, so it's half and half. It's about 1.5 pounds of sausage, and it's all cooked in a little bit of olive oil. Then I'm gonna add tomatoes, a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes in puree. If you use whole tomatoes, you can just put it in the food processor and crush them up yourself. And a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, the whole can. I'm gonna add lots of flavoring. Some fresh basil. Just pick off some leaves and chop it up coarsely. It's all gonna cook together anyway. I love basil, and it tastes so good with tomatoes and turkey sausage. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So right into the tomato and turkey sausage. And then I think some fresh parsley. You can use flat leaf parsley like this, or you can use curly parsley. I think this has a little more flavor, but really depends on the parsley. Right into the pot. I think we need salt and pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. A lot of this depends on how salty and peppery the sausage is, so you'll want to taste it. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and then just stir it up. I'm just going to let this simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes over low heat until all the flavors blend together and the tomato and the basil and the turkey sausage all taste like one. Okay, now I'm going to get the cheeses ready. I need 15 ounces of ricotta cheese, which is usually 1 package. And then I'm going to put lots of flavors in it. First thing is goat cheese. I know it's unusual in a lasagna, but I think it really gives it great flavor. So this is a 4-ounce package. I mean, if you have a 4.5-ounce package or 5-ounce package, just be casual about it. It's just fine. Just crumble it right up into the ricotta. Sort of a little more pungent kind of flavor. It's good. 1 cup of grated Parmesan. Just mix that in. And then 1 egg. You know, when you're putting an egg into a mixture, I always put it into another glass bowl because you never know when you get a bad egg. So 1 egg, extra large egg, just mix that in. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of flavor with some chopped parsley. About 2 tablespoons. And of course, salt and pepper. You don't need too much because the Parmesan's pretty salty. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And now what I'm going to do is show you how I did the noodles, and then I'm going to layer the whole thing together with mozzarella. It's going to be fabulous. What I do with the noodles is instead of boiling them, I pour really, really, really hot tap water into a bowl and let the noodles soak for about 20 minutes, and they soften up just enough to go into the baked lasagna. Okay, now I'm just going to drain it. By the time they're drained, I'm going to be ready to layer them. Just spread it out along the bottom of the dish. Mush it around. Just want to do one layer of pasta right on top of the tomatoes. They don't have to be perfect, just cut them to fit. Let's take about half the mozzarella and layer it on top. And then the next layer is this cheese, the ricotta, about half the cheese. Remember, it's the ricotta and goat cheese and Parmesan, more sausage. Okay, another layer of noodles. More mozzarella. The rest of the cheese. It's amazing how fast this builds up. And with nothing more strenuous to do than grate some Parmesan over it, I put it in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes, and I had a dinner party. Okay, a little turkey lasagna. It's light as a feather because it's made with turkey sausage. I'm making penne arrabbiata. Arrabbiata sauce is really kind of a classic Italian pasta sauce made with tomatoes. Mine has an unbelievable amount of garlic in it, which I'm going to cook very slowly in olive oil. It's going to be really sweet and delicious. So nobody wants to peel 24 cloves of garlic. So what I do is I blanch them in a pot of boiling water just for about 15 seconds. And then you'll see the skins just slip right off, just like that. Okay, so that's a cup. So I've got 2/3 of a cup of olive oil that I've got warmed. I'm gonna put the garlic in and just cook it for about 10 minutes, just until the outside is like just barely browned and the inside's really tender. So I've got two 28-ounce cans of San Marzano tomatoes. I think San Marzano are the best quality canned tomatoes. And I've got whole tomatoes. I'm gonna put them in the food processor and just chop them up. I'm just putting them in the food processor so I can control the consistency of the tomatoes. And I'm draining them because I don't want the sauce to be watery. Nobody wants watery sauce. Okay, you can make Bloody Marys out of the rest. Okay, get them in, good. And then I'm just gonna chop them up. Just like that. You don't want a puree, you just want them roughly chopped. Okay, I'm gonna take the garlic and put it right into the tomatoes. And then I'm gonna chop that up and then cook it all together. This recipe actually is inspired by Missy Robbins, who has the most incredible pasta restaurant in New York called Missy. It's in Brooklyn. And she makes her arrabbiata sauce with 24 cloves of garlic. And it's so good. And then I'm just gonna chop that up so you get bits of garlic in the sauce. And then this whole thing goes right back into the oil. Try and do it without getting it all over yourself. So this is going back on the stove. Turn on the heat. And I'm gonna take 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds. You can do it in a mortar and pestle, but I think this is actually better to grind them yourself. What I do is just chop them up. And they're gonna bounce all over the place, but it's really worth it. And I think what you do is you get a lot of the oils out of the fennel seeds. Just give it a rough chop like that. They're gonna get tenderized when the sauce cooks. Okay, right into the sauce. Right there. 1 teaspoon of hot red pepper flakes. Okay, next is 1/3 of a cup of red wine. Yum. Tablespoon of salt. Make sure it's really well seasoned. Teaspoon of pepper. I'm always looking for how flavors complement each other, how the tomatoes make the red wine taste better, how the red wine makes the fennel taste better. This is gonna do exactly that. The garlic flavors everything. So I'm just gonna bring it to a boil and then lower the heat and let it simmer for 30 minutes. I'm almost done with the arrabbiata sauce. I'm just gonna add some fresh basil to it. Gives it a nice, fresh, kind of peppery flavor. Okay, about 1/4 of a cup, right into the sauce. So I've got a big pot of boiling water, salt, and 1 pound of penne, and I'm cooking it to about 2 minutes less than it requires for al dente. And that's because I'm gonna cook it in the sauce. Okay, pasta should be done. or at least 2 minutes less than done. And I'm just gonna, with a wire strainer, just put it right into the pasta sauce. And that way, all of the pasta sauce gets absorbed into the pasta, and it really flavors it. Very often what we do is we serve pasta, and then we put the sauce on top, and it just kind of sits on the top. But this way, it cooks into it. And a little bit of the starch from the pasta really thickens the sauce. So the two elements really work together. And I'm gonna save the pasta water if I need a little extra water. So that's all the pasta. Just give it a big stir. And I'm gonna cook this for about 2 minutes. And you know what? It does need a little water. So I have a ladle. It's always surprising to me. Missy taught me how much water to put into a sauce, which is incredibly surprising. You think you're gonna water it down, and in fact, it does just the opposite. I'm just gonna cook this all together. Oh, man overboard. It's gonna cook together for 2 minutes. The pasta will be perfectly cooked, and the sauce will be just really silken and delicious. You can really smell the garlic, but it's like soft, not sharp. In the meantime, while that cooks, I'm gonna julienne a little more basil for garnish. I love pastas because you can make the sauce in advance, just cook the pasta, cook it together, and you've got a fabulous dinner. Big salad, I'm a happy camper. Okay, so clear the decks. You need a big bowl. And the pasta should be done. Oh, this looks gorgeous. And you can really tell that the tomato sauce has gotten into the pasta. Who wouldn't want to have this for dinner? A little fresh basil on top. Some Parmesan cheese, because of course you can never have too much Parmesan. A fork. This is the kind of dinner anybody in the family would love. It's just not your ordinary tomato sauce. This is pasta arrabbiata with 24 cloves of garlic. And it tastes so good.